It couldn't be. It was a day like any other. I was out of the office visiting various sites where my construction crews were working. I run a small building maintenance business. We have built new buildings in the past, but finding suitable sites has become a real pain in the ass. Renovations and additions to private homes brought in money faster. Anyway, when I got back to the office, there was some guy waiting for me. He stood up as I entered the room and asked me, "Are you Mr. Stephen George Best Harding?" "Yes, I am," I replied. I got the feeling that I knew what was coming next. We get disgruntled customers, and it's not uncommon for people to sue them. Usually, we've been able to settle things amicably. So amicably that the same dissatisfied people come back for more work. So you see, I didn't really care. There was no way I was going to let it go to court. "I have a subpoena for you, sir. You are named as a co-defendant in the divorce case of Mr. and Mrs. Powers, and I have another subpoena issued in the name of Mr. Powers, charging you with alienating his wife's affections, and there's a third one demanding back child support for the 2 children Mr. Powers claims you have borne." With these words, the fellow thrust 3 envelopes into my hand and left the office. I didn't say anything except to confirm my name. I was too shocked to say anything else. My secretary receptionist, Jean, went around her desk, took my hand, led me into the office, and sat me in a chair. Jean then picked up the phone and called my attorney. "Manny, get your ass down here to Steve's office right now. The shit has hit the fan. He's going to need you." Manny must have said something back to Jean. "I don't care what you do, you big piece of lard. Get over here right now and start earning that damn fee Steve is paying you, or I'll personally cut your damn balls off." Jean doesn't mince words. That's why I put her in charge of the office. I've got rude people working for me. None of the guys would dare cross her, Manny included. "You stay there, boss. I'll make a cup of tea and then we'll see what this shit is all about. I suppose I'd better tell you a bit about myself. I'm Steve George Best Harding. My father was into soccer. No, I never was. I couldn't kick a ball if my life depended on it. I am 35 years old, and for the past 15 years, I have been married to my Annette, the oldest of 3 sisters. We have 2 children, Rebecca, who is 5, and Christina, who is 4. No, we didn't plan on waiting this long to have kids. We started trying to have a baby from the first day of our honeymoon, and gosh, how we tried. But it turned out Annette had some sort of internal abnormality. Don't ask me. I'm not a gynecologist, for crying out loud. I didn't understand a word of it. Nothing that they couldn't get around. As a result, Annette wouldn't be able to conceive in the normal way. Once the problem was diagnosed, it was pretty easy to fix. The doctors simply pointed us in the direction of the nearest IVF center. After months of worry, the implant finally took root, and 9 months later, Rebecca was born. Immediately after giving birth, Annette returned to the clinic where she was implanted with a couple more embryos, and soon Christina joined our happy little family. Annette and I are still enjoying the, hectic sex life. I think Annette thinks that one day we will prove the doctors wrong. I'm happy to help her, although it can be quite tedious at times. Although maybe Annette just enjoys the sex. I know I enjoy it. The problem I had by then was that Annette could be described as very possessive and extremely jealous. It took years for her to get used to the idea of Jean working with me. Jean and Annette are great friends, but if Annette realizes I'm wrong, she'll go crazy. And now her sister's husband has claimed I'm the father of his 2 young children and apparently is actively suing me over it. Hell, if Annette found out about this, she'd bloody kill both her sister and me. Jean, of course, understood where the lawyer's visit would lead. Jean knows Annette and me intimately. She also knew it was all smoke, that there was no way in hell I would cheat on Annette, but the slightest hint from Annette and God knows what would happen. I think I sat in my office in a state of shock. Jean returned with a couple of mugs of tea. Then she opened 3 envelopes and read the contents, puffing and puffing as she did so. "Christ, this is bloody impossible," she exclaimed suddenly. "Steve, You haven't done anything I don't know about, have you? I looked at her. There's a damn DNA test here that proves you're the father of Emma's twins. No fucking way. What do you think? Do you think I have a bloodthirsty death wish or something? I replied. That doesn't make sense. It has to be a mistake, commented Jean, looking through the rest of the papers. It says here that Malcolm Powers is definitely not the father of any of the children. They must have mixed up the samples. How the hell did they even get a sample from you? Hell knows. But you can get DNA from cigarette ends and beer glasses and stuff these days, can't you? That's what the police do, isn't it? I suggested. Hell no. I know where he got it. Remember a few months ago Malcolm was telling you about the bone marrow donor register. Didn't he talk you into joining it? Something about leukemia and bone marrow donation. Hell yeah, I remember. He conned most of us at the golf club into signing up for it. Sneaky bastard. He must have been looking for a DNA match. Did you mention it to Annette or anyone at home? Asked Jean. I don't think so. There wasn't anything special about it. They just took a blood sample, that's all. I figured I wouldn't tell Annette about it unless I was called to donate. But I doubted that would happen. Well, that's where that bastard got what he thinks is your DNA from that damned blood sample, but they must have mixed up the samples somewhere. At that moment, Manny appeared, and Jean quickly told him what had happened. Manny, being Manny, and also a lawyer, immediately decided that I was guilty. Why is it that lawyers think everyone is as sneaky and conniving as they are? Manny started talking about hiding my financial assets so Annette couldn't get me out in the divorce. Manny knew Annette as well as Jean did. Look, Manny, I'm not the father of these kids. I never slept with Emma. Sorry, Jean. Haven't slept with anyone else since I started dating Annette. Well, that's not what this DNA report says, Manny objected, leafing through the papers. Well, then they must have messed something up, mixed up the samples or something, I shouted angrily at him. I doubt it, Steve. This is one of the best labs in the country. They do all the police work. I can't imagine them making a mistake. Well, they sure as hell made a mistake this time. Now I was furious and had forgotten my manners, swearing while Jean was in the room. Look, in order for these kids to have my DNA, I have to be their father. Since I never had sex with their mother, there's no way I can be their father. So these damn tests must be wrong. By then it was almost 7 o'clock in the evening, much later than the time I usually got home. At any moment I expected Annette to call and wonder where I was. Jean, do me a favor and call Annette. Tell her we're in some kind of trouble that I have to take care of by tonight. I don't care what you say, but I can't see her until I get an explanation for this mess. Jean called Annette at home, but there was no answer. I was really worried. Annette was supposed to be home cooking me dinner tonight. Had she already found out about all this and left me without waiting to hear what I had to say? I wouldn't stand on ceremony with her. With Annette's temper, you have to act first and ask questions later. Christ, I once caught a beer in the face when the wife of one of my clients pecked me on the cheek in a pub. She was thanking me for getting the job done in the time frame it was supposed to take because they were having a family party. When the client explained everything to Annette, she was very sorry that she had misunderstood what she had seen. Annette is Irish. They can be very physical. Well, Annette often demonstrates that in bed. Jean started dialing another number. Who are you calling now? I inquired. Jean's mom. If the shit hits the fan, she'll know. Jean spoke to Annette's mother, but from what I understood, she wasn't there. My mother-in-law talked to Jean for a while longer, and Jean only said things like, and I see in response. Then she hung up. It doesn't make any sense, Jean said. Apparently Annette is with Emma because Emma's husband left her. Of course Emma knows why he left. I'll give her a call. She must have told Annette you weren't the father and Annette believed her. So it looks like your problems with Annette may end before they even begin. Oh yeah, and Emma could be lying in a pool of blood. Have you thought of that? In that case, why doesn't Annette kill you too? That's a good idea. Wait a minute, Annette would never leave the kids alone. I have to admit I was somewhat relieved, so there was a cheerfulness in my soul. Jean called out, "Oh, hi, Annette. It's Jean from the office." Steve was worried and asked where you really were. "Yes, I heard. Your mom told me. But do you know why?" "Oh, well, yeah. Steve knows too. Someone delivered a couple subpoenas here this afternoon." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jean was telling Annette about the subpoenas. What the hell was that girl playing a prank? "Okay, in 10 minutes. Bye." Jean hung up the phone and turned to me. "Calm down, Steve. I just realized what's going on here. But I think I'll let Annette handle this mess. Where's that bottle of whiskey you've been hiding here? I think you're going to need it." Well, there it is. If you haven't figured it out by now, you're as dumb as I am. Turns out Emma has the same problem as Annette. Apparently, it's genetics. The problem for Emma was that Malcolm Powers had the same problem. I don't know how they did it, but somehow both girls convinced someone at the IVF center to use Annette and I's spare embryos and plant them on Emma. 2 embryos were taken, and Emma gave birth to twins. And what was the outcome? Well, legally, I'm financially responsible for Emma's children. Christ, they are my children. But I'm suing the IVF clinic over it. Manny thinks we're going to rip them off. I doubt it. Malcolm and Emma eventually got back together. I just can't understand why the girls didn't involve Malcolm and I in the surrogate implantation plan from the beginning. God, I'm so glad Malcolm isn't the physical type because he towers over me. But he's an accountant. They're always thinking about money, aren't they? Annette and I are divorced. Hell, she really could have left me for dead. The girls have blabbed that they're planning to try the same thing with their other sister. Christ, I'll be financially responsible for the damn soccer team by the time they're done. Now the question is, how long I'll be divorced from Annette. God, I love Annette. But she really needed to be taught a serious lesson. Look, being alone for a few months won't hurt me. I've put down all those women who've proposed to me since I married Annette, and she couldn't say a damn thing about it. I see the kids 2 or 3 times a week and sometimes stay with them, actually quite a bit. Yeah, you get it. Annette walks around me like she's stepping on broken glass, so I don't think she'd dare turn on me. I suppose we'll be married around Christmas. We've talked about it, and I should have enough wild oats sown by then. And of course, with any luck, I should remain the dominant partner in our marriage after that. Life goes on.